So many GT Ezas, but how should you build their hidden potential? How's it, everybody? Celtic Link here. We got another Dokkan Battle video for you here today. We have 7 GT Ezas, each with their own hidden potential setup. So this video, we're going to break down each one of them and what I believe is the best recommended hidden potential build for each of them. So we're going to go ahead and kick things off here, starting with the tech Syn Shenron. He was the most anticipated of the group, given how much he could work with the new Fizz Omega Shenron. So let's start by taking a look at him. So on his super attack effect, he is greatly raising his attack defense for the turn, causing supreme damage to the enemy. Basic effects have him randomly changing key spheres of certain type to rainbow key spheres. He gets a key 2 and attack and defense 150%. He has a high chance of performing critical hit, a high chance of launching an additional super attack. So that's a 50% chance for each of those. For his first turn, he has a 40% damage reduction rate. He disables the enemy's guard when attacking and gets an additional attack and defense 50% per key sphere obtained. So basically, you'll max him out with 7 key spheres here. He also gets an additional damage reduction rate with 2 or more key spheres obtained, a 20% chance of performing a critical hit with 3 or more key spheres obtained, another damage reduction rate with 4 or more key spheres obtained, 30% more crit with 5 or more key spheres obtained, and an additional super attack with 6 or more key spheres obtained. And then finally, with 7 or more key spheres obtained, he will debuff the enemy attack and defense 20% for 2 turns. So there's a lot going on here. First, let's talk about the damage reduction. Assuming you are running him on Omega's team, one thing to note, and this kind of can help you build around him, right, is that for his first turn on Omega Shenron's team, assuming you have Fizz Omega, right, and you put up his domain, we are talking about a unit that has 40%, 20%. So that's 60% damage reduction rate right there. And assuming you get the 4 or more, you've now got 80% damage reduction. Now, if you happen to have one of the Omegas on the rotation when he shows up, you have 90% damage reduction. If you happen to get a turn where both Omegas show up, or this guy shows up on turn 2 with the second Omega, you have 100% damage reduction rate on his first turn. Every turn after that, as long as you get at least 4 or more key spheres obtained and you keep both Omegas on rotation, you're having 60% damage reduction every turn after that. So that's still really good. And in order to best take advantage of that, so what this means is he can go slot 1 on his first appearance, and then after that roll into slot 2, which is perfect because Omega can usually go into slot 1 by that point. So you can kind of build around that, right? As a tech type, he's going to naturally lean into crit, but he's got enough crit that you don't actually need it. In fact, I recommend going full additionals for this guy. Take advantage of those additional super attacks that he can do, because he's going to be dealing damage, and with the amount of crit built in through the key spheres obtained here, you're not going to have to worry much, right? 30% here, 20% here, that's a 50% chance right there, on top of the additional 50% chance here, which means he's essentially got 100% chance to do a critical hit. So critical hit is not necessary for him. So that means full additionals, and then I would go sub dodge. So since he's a tech type, the best he's going to get is 6 nodes. And then of course, since he's a tech type, he's got base 5 crit, which you don't really need. So as far as his equips go, kind of hard to judge because, you know, he is a sub Eza, and I don't recommend you using your really good equips for him. Save those for your Dokkan Fests and your LRs. However, the Shadow Dragon Saga event is currently available in the story mode tab, and you can run stage 13 and get a bunch of equips. So whatever equips you get from there, whatever will boost his additionals and his dodge, as well as his defense. I think you can get a level level 7 defense orb from that for his bronze, and that would be really good for him for his equips. But otherwise, right, do whatever you can to bring this up to 25 and this up to at least 16 to kind of maximize his potential. But of course, you know, as a sub EZA, don't go out of your way to use your best equips that you're going to need for other units. Now, that brings us to our next one. At the same time as this EZA, we are also getting the Battlefield LR Shadow Dragon Legion EZA as well, and they are actually quite good for free LR. They have a on their 18 key, they cause mega colossal damage and lower the attack and defense of the enemy, and then on their 12 key, they are causing colossal damage and lowering the enemy's attack and defense. So they don't really have a super attack effect for raising their defense, at least, which means almost everything has to come from their passive here. Why is it? There we go. Okay, here we go. All right, so no. They do raise their attack. For whatever reason, Dokkan Info didn't load the EZA details up. Okay, so yes, they are greatly raising their attack for 1 turn. All right, so no defense on their super, though, but still lowering the attack and defense the same amount. All right, so what that tells us is a little bit about what we're going to need to do with their hidden potential. We're going to come back to that in a second. Basic effects are key 4, attack defense 177%, GT bosses key 3, attack defense 40% per GT bosses ally on the team, or extreme class ally on the team, whichever is more, attack defense 30%, and damage reduction rate 7%, which basically means you can get up to 49% damage reduction rate with a full extreme or full GT bosses team. When all allies are extreme characters, he has effective against all types, and all allies attack and defense 17%. When attacking with 12 or more key, attack and defense 77%. When 18 or more key, attack and defense 77% more. And when attacking with 24 key, chance of performing a critical hit 77%. When the target enemy is in attack down or defense down status, key 7, and attack 77%. With their active skill, which can be activated from the 7th turn, which you're not going to see very often, but if you can pull it off, right, you will be able to lower the enemy's attack and defense for 30 turns, but most by 30% for 1 turn. But most fights where you're going to get to this, you're probably not going to be able to debuff them by that point, but it is there. So as far as their hidden potential goes, right, they are an int type, which means they naturally lean into dodge, get in a possible of 20 max here if you fully invest into it. However, right, you kind of want to take advantage of their additionals. Now, while they are not getting any super attack defense raising, they are raising their attack, and they are doing this. See, the thing is, this unit, you're bringing them in fights where you can take advantage of the lowering attack and defense, right? That's their main function. And while they do get some decent defense post super, especially with all the damage reduction and plus the damage reduction that Omega is providing, they're still there is still a little bit lack of defense. I mean, they've got enough to survive most major things coming at them. So I would recommend going full additionals, take advantage of those attack and defense lowers, and then have the sub dodge there as sort of your backup. As far as their equips go, again, Shadow Dragon Saga stage is available. Get whatever equips you can there to increase their defense and increase their additionals or dodge, whichever one you want to focus on. Honestly, as a free-to-play LR, you could even swap this, right? Go more into dodge with a full dodge build for the full 20, and then drop the additionals. Either one really works. They do have quite a bit of attack and effective against all types, so they really don't need the crits. So everything else, you want to focus on these two here, additionals and dodge. That brings us to our next EZA here. We have the EZA Super Saiyan 3 Great Ape Goku. Now, this guy has one of the older super attack effects, and we're going to talk about this here. So he greatly raises defense for 1 turn, causes supreme damage, and raises attack for 3 turns. Now, this raises attack for 3 turns. Because he's one of those older stackers, means his his attack is actually, his stats are actually lower to account for the fact that he's stacking on the turn 1. So his first turn is going to look a little weaker, but once he gets to that second or third super, he's going to look much better. Now, his basic effects give him attack defense 200%. He gives all allies 33% attack and defense, and an additional key 1 and attack and 33% for characters who are also on GT Heroes or Giant Ape Power. He does have a 30% chance of turning into a Giant Ape. When attacking, he gets attack defense 200%, and when there is another GT Heroes or Giant Ape Power ally attacking in the same turn, he gets attack 150% and a chance of performing a critical hit and chance of evading enemies' attack 50%. When all allies are GT Heroes or Giant Ape Power, he launches an additional super attack and guards all attacks. When he transforms into Giant Ape, not anything crazy going on here. It's your typical Giant Ape stuff, right? He's going to change orbs for himself, and he's going to have a 50% chance of performing a critical hit, and for every key sphere obtained while in giant form, he's going to get attack 100%. Now, that does seem like a lot, but right, because he's an older character, his Giant Ape is not going to be as strong, so that attack 100% is going to really, I mean, it's going to make him just hit kind of average, if I'm being completely honest. But I mean, it's Giant Ape, it's free damage, right? It's a free damage turn basically, and obviously with each super he does consecutively, he's going to get stronger within that turn. So very helpful there. I would note here though, right, if you can get a good setup of Fizz changing from Fizz to SDR, and the good rainbow orbs, he can do some okay damage, but again, it's just free giant form damage. So with that in mind, how we want to build his hidden potential, right? You would think as a character with a nuke lead and a character such as him as SCR, you would want to lean into critical hit, but actually no. For this one, once again, additionals is the way to go, right? Take advantage of getting him built up quicker. That's the strategy with him, right? So 15 additionals, right? Obviously you can push it up to 25 with equips, but 15 additionals is what he's going to be able to get if you fully invest that as an STR type. And then for his sub, you can do one of two things, all right? He does have plenty of critical hit built in, so you could just go sub crit and give him 11 crit just to kind of make up for that little extra chance to crit, and then 0 dodge. Or you can flip it. You can put none in your crit, which since he's SDR, he's going to have a base 5, and then give yourself 6 dodge, and then just build the rest out of your equips, whatever you can get. The thing is, he does have a 50% chance to dodge already. He does have guard when all allies are GT heroes or Giant Ape Power. So I mean, it's not, he's gonna be fine in most situations. You just want that additionals to get him built up quicker, and obviously raise some more defense with the turn, right? Because if he gets his supers, right, he's going to be built up by his next appearance, right? The extra supers will allow him to push his defense further within the turn and allow him to have a little more staying power, especially as a supporting type unit. So that is my recommendation for him. Additionals and either crit or dodge, up to you. Next, we have the opposite to the Goku, the Int Great Ape Baby. This guy on his is just like the GT Goku, right? They're doing a lot of the same things, just opposite for their teams, and unfortunately both of them are still banned from most events. But let's talk about his hidden potential here. So super attack effect is greatly raising attack defense for the turn, causing supreme damage and lowering enemies attack. Basic effects are attack defense 150%, key 2 and attack defense 100% with a medium chance of turning into a giant ape. When attacking with 12 or more ki, he gets attack defense 150%, and when there's another Inhuman Deeds, Corroded Body or Mine, or GT bosses ally attacking in the same turn, he gets an additional super attack. He gets a chance of performing a critical hit, damage reduction rate, and chance of evading enemies attack 20%. And when there's a Pure Saiyans, Hybrid Saiyans, or GT Heroes enemy, he launches an additional super attack with a chance of performing a critical hit, damage reduction rate, and chance of evading enemies attack 20%. For every attack performed, he gets attack defense 30% up to 150%. He does have a medium chance of turning into a giant ape. Now, I did not talk about this before with the GT Goku, but actually, since they do have a transformation condition here and here is an additional condition, they can actually transform twice, but it is a 30% chance. Now, when transformed into giant ape, he let's make sure we got the right one. Yes, okay. He is greatly raising attacks temporarily, changing key spheres of certain type to rainbow, getting medium chance of performing a critical hit, and 170 attack for every key sphere obtained. So because he's not double rainbow, he's not double orb changing here, right? They gave him a little more attack per key sphere. Again, nothing crazy because they are older units, but you'll get some decent damage out of their giant form turns. It's free damage after all. Now, as an int type, he's going to naturally lean into dodge. However, for his, you kind of want to give him that critical hit, and allow me to explain why. He's doing everything already. He's got plenty of additionals built into him. He's got plenty of crit built into him. So why crit? Well, the thing is this part of his passive right here. The reality is there's not very many bosses like this, right? The Pure Saiyans boss, there's only one boss that covers in the special battle. The GT Heroes, only one boss that covers in the special battle, right? The other two major bosses there, he's not going to have this part of his passive. For the red zones, right, there's only one Pure Saiyans final boss, and it's the Goku or the Vegeta, right? The rest of them are all, Jiren is not on either one of these categories. Battle hardened formidable foes, right? None of these categories. So that means for most content, he's not going to have this second part of his passive active. So to make up for that, I do recommend giving him a little extra crit, because otherwise he's only got this 20% chance, the 20% damage reduction, and the 20% evade, right? Instead of the 40% chance he would have through this. Now, I mean, he's got plenty of attack and defense through this, so it's not too bad, but it's just worthy of note here. So personally, I do recommend going 15 crit and 6 additionals, and then use your use whatever equipped you've got to boost this up to 25, and then boost this up to 16. Now, of course, I forgot to add the number here, but he does have a natural 5. You could sub out the additional and sub in dodge if you wanted to, but I definitely recommend having this because he can do damage, but if he doesn't have that crit, you're going to miss out on a lot of it. So that's my recommendation for the baby. Moving on, we have the Fizz Pan. Now, I like this Fizz Pan, right? She is the STR Pan. For those of us that did not pull STR Pan, she does really well. She greatly raises attack defense for 1 turn. She causes supreme damage to the enemy, and she has an ally attack buff for 25% for 2 turns. Really, really good when you consider the fact that there are multiple members on the GT Heroes team that are also doing this. He also gets attack and defense 150%. 30% chance of evading enemy's attack, and all allies key 2. When attacking, she gets attack and defense 150%. When HP is 50% or more, she gets attack and defense 50%, and all allies 30%. When HP is 30% or more, you get attack and defense 50%, and all allies attack and defense 30%. So that's 60% per support, as long as you are above the threshold for her support, right? You just have to be above 50% and you get 60% support. When you have another GT Heroes or youth category ally attacking the same turn, she gets additional attack defense 100%, chance of evading enemy's attack, and damage reduction rate 20% when attacking. And then when all allies are GT Heroes or youth, she gets attack defense 100% and chance of evading enemy's attack, and damage reduction rate 20% when attacking. So very nice. That means, right, she's got 30% chance to evade. She's got another 20% chance or 50% chance. So she's got 70% chance to dodge, assuming you're on a GT Heroes team or a youth team. Really, really good, combined with the fact that she does support for 60% and supports attack on her super attack effect. So for her, right, as a Fizz type, she is going to naturally lean into additional attack. And so you do want to kind of take advantage a little bit of both here. So she is naturally a support unit. She's not going to be dealing too much damage. So as a support unit, her defense is also not going to be the greatest. So for her, I do recommend going full dodge. Yes, she does have that damage reduction, which will help basically survive normals, but definitely for big supers, you're going to want that dodge. So full dodge is the recommendation for her instead of leaning into that. Now, I do recommend her sub be additional. She'll get a natural 11 thanks to being Fizz type, and then you want to boost that up with whatever you can, because again, if she can launch an additional super attack here, this 25% will become 50% if she can get an additional super attack. So you do want to have a little bit of additionals in there for her, because that would be helpful for the rest of your team. So again, for Pan, I do recommend going dodge and then additionals. Up next, we have the STR GT Trunks. This guy is raising attack and defense for 1 turn, causing supreme damage and to the enemy and massively lowering defense. He has attack and defense 150% on his basic effects, randomly changes key spheres of certain type to rainbow key spheres, and gives all allies attack 30%. When attacking with 12 or more ki, he gets 150% attack and defense. When there's another GT Heroes or Hybrid Saiyans ally attacking on the turn, he gets attack and defense 150% and chance to perform a critical hit and damage reduction rate 30%, as well as giving allies 30% defense. When all allies attack in the same turn are GT Heroes or Hybrid Saiyans, he gets another 150% attack and defense, another chance to perform a critical hit and damage reduction rate 30%, and all allies attack and defense 30%. So again, another 60% support unit for the turn, as well as having 60% damage reduction rate, assuming you're on GT Heroes or Hybrid Saiyan. So really, really good here. He is actually slightly more defensive with than the Pan because he's got a lot more defense through his passive. So for him, as an SCR type, he's obviously going to lead naturally into crit, but as a support type unit, you're really not going to need the crit. So I don't recommend investing crit. Instead, invest in additionals. And the reason I say additionals for him mostly is because of that massively lowering defense, right? One of the major bosses right now, in order to make sure you are successful in it, you need to lower the boss's defense, and having a character that can massively do it greatly helps that fight out. So I do recommend going the full additionals. He will survive just most things post super with that extra super, and then go sub dodge, and then the equips, whatever can boost these up to 25 and to 16 if you got it. And then finally, we have the AGL Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Now, this guy is kind of a slightly better version than the STR, obviously with no Great Ape, but he raises attack and defense for 3 turns, right? So he gets some defense on there too. He gets attack and defense 150%. He launches an additional attack that has a 50% chance of becoming a super attack. He has attack 100% when attacking, defense 70% when receiving an attack, and when all allies are GT Heroes, he gets 100% attack and chance to perform a critical hit and damage reduction rate 50%. When HP is 50% or less, and when there's a GT boss's enemy, he performs a critical hit and has guaranteed guard. So honestly, he's pretty decent, right? Minus the support in the giant form, he's a slightly better version of the STR one, and since he's AGL, he's going to naturally lean into naturally lean into additionals, and that's exactly what you want to do with him. Give him those additionals so he can build up quicker with a little bit of sub dodge, since he is going to have that guard as well as a pretty pretty good amount of attack and defense raise, right? Full additionals is the way to go with them with sub dodge. Honestly, though, I mean, I wouldn't argue with you if you went full dodge and sub additionals, but either way, he doesn't need crits. So one of these two is the definite recommendation, and then boost whatever you can with whatever skill orbs. Again, I don't recommend using your good skill orbs for these guys, as that most of them are just sub EZA. Save your good orbs for Dokkan Fests and LRs. So guys, that is it for the video. That is our sub EZA hidden potential list. This was a big one, so hopefully you guys stay tuned till the end. Hopefully it was worth it, and you guys were able to learn something from this video. So just a quick recap before we close out. For Syn Shenron, max additionals, sub dodge. For Shadow Dragon Legion, max additionals, sub dodge. STR Super Saiyan 3 Goku, max additionals, either sub crit or sub dodge, up to you on that one. Pan, max dodge, sub additionals. Baby, max crit, sub additionals, and GT Trunks, max additionals, sub dodge, and then AGL Super Saiyan 3 Goku, max additionals and sub dodge. So guys, that is it for the video. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And in the comments down below, let us know, how would you build any of these characters? Are there any major discrepancies here that you would change, right? How would you build your characters differently? Let us know in the comments down below. Otherwise, guys, as always, thanks for watching, and aloha.